All right, we're at Dilutive Securities. This is the solution to the homework. Um, First, contingent issue agreement. We didn't really go over this. It's right in your textbook, though. It's like a paragraph. It's one of those questions. It's a little bit of a one-off, but thing you should know. But we're not going to do anything with quantitatively. All right. So, a contingent issue agreement. What is it all about? What's the contingent issue? It's a contingent issue of shares. So it's when one company buys another, and the company that's buying the other company, they're a little concerned that they may be paying too much. The company being acquired, is making statements about its ability to grow revenue or grow net income or market share, etc. But the company buying isn't so sure. So they may say something like, well, if you hit a certain net income target or a certain revenue target or a certain uh, percent of market target, whatever it may be, that then after the acquisition, more shares will be issued to the company that was bought out. So it's a contingent issue of common shares based upon hitting certain future targets. Okay. Um, so it's not about a buyback. It doesn't always result in issuance of shares. It's not about the acquiring corporation fulfilling specific requirements, but it does result in the issuance of shares when specific events occur, such as hitting a certain revenue number or net income number. Okay. I mean, if for those of you who are into like sports or even entertainment, you could think of it like, a baseball player will get paid so much if their batting average is over 310, or a star of a movie may get paid extra if the gross revenue exceeds 50 million in the first weekend, something like that. Okay. All right. So number two, when only the fair value of stock warrants is known, the sales price of bonds with detachable warrants is allocated. So if you only know one, whether it's stock warrant or bond, you have to use the incremental method. Okay. Proportional method is a method that would be used if we knew both. The book value method, this applies to conversions, so it doesn't even apply to a joint security issuance. I don't even know what the heck they're talking about with the market value method. Three, if preferred stock is non cumulative and cash dividends have not been declared in the past 2 years or in the current year, what amount of cash dividends should preferred stockholders receive? So it's non cumulative and nothing's declared, nothing. So we don't care about dividends and arrears no matter what, even if something was declared because it's non cumulative. So that would make A and B wrong. Only the current year's dividend, this would be true if there were a declaration this year and it exceeded the current year's dividend. Okay. Oh, this answer's sitting out over here. That's kind of weird. Oh well. Let's see. So this is a stock option. Okay, I'm going to read the question first. The question in the question, because that always helps you grab the right information. What amount of compensation expense should Sharp recognize related to the stock option grant? Well, we're going to look for the service period, and we're going to look for the fair value on the grant date, and we're going to look for if there's any forfeitures. Okay. First of all, it was issued in 2010, so this would be the second year. It's 6,000 shares. The option pricing model has it at 140, and they're exercisable on December 31, so there's a 2 year service period. We don't really care about these market prices, those are useless to us. So it's 140,000. I don't see any forfeitures. It's just the fair value of the options divided by the service period at 70,000. There you go. What is the book value of the shares issued upon exercise? Huh. That's an interesting question. So if you remember the entry, let's see how this one works out. If you remember the entry, on exercise, there's going to be some cash and then you're going to remove some paid-in capital stock options. So really, that's all we need to figure out the book value of the common stock par and additional paid-in capital common stock. All right. So let's see what we have here. The exercise price is $25. Total compensation is $7,500. So what we have to look for is forfeited shares, and I don't see any. So there's 1,000 shares, and they were all exercised at this time. So the cash is 1,000 times 25. So that's 25,000. Paid in capital stock options, it's the total amount of 7,500 that was amortized over 2 years, and that's where your 32,500 comes from. All right. What is the change in total stockholders' equity as a result of this option grant? So the answer is 25,000. I'm going to show you the long way and the short way. First of all, the first journal entries are compensation expense, and then paid in capital stock options. So what are those each? 3,500, 3,750, 3,750, and that happens again. Comp expense, paid in capital stock options, 3,750, 3,750, and these cancel out. Expense reduces stockholders' equity. This paid in capital increases it. Those all cancel out. So far we're at zero. So let's get to the exercise. We started to write it down. Cash, paid in capital, stock option, and common stock. I'm not even going to care about the par value. It all goes to increase stockholders' equity. So we have 25,000, 7,500, 32,500. All right. So this is increasing assets. So we don't really care about that. This decreases stockholders' equity. So this is a contender. And this increases stockholders' equity. So what's the net effect? Let's see, 32,500, increase 7,500, decrease that's 25,000. Okay? So that's the long way to get there. Here's the short way to get there. The change in total stockholders' equity as a result of an option grant, exercise, and expiration. So over a total stock option compensation program, you take the number of shares exercised times the strike price. So in this case, it was just the 25,000 here. So all the cash the company receives, that's the only thing that increases total stockholders' equity. All right. So all that compensation expense doesn't decrease stockholders' equity, and with stock option compensation expense, you end up increasing stockholders' equity. Kind of weird treatment, but that's what it is. Okay? So it's always the number of shares exercised times the strike price. Okay, bonds with warrants. Assume the warrants are detachable. There it is. Calculate the amount of premium or discount. All right, so we have to figure out 300,000 face value bonds. 10 warrants for each bond. Okay, that's something new and different. The market value without. The market value without. And okay, so we're allocating. We sold both for 307,000. And we got to calculate first the amount of the bond. The bond by itself is 280,000. We have to divide that times the price of both the bond and the warrant marketed separately. This is the proportional method. So it's 307, 307,000, 280,000, 316,000. So the total amount allocated to the bond is 272,025. This is the bond allocation. Now the face value is 300,000. So the difference between those two is the discount, which is 27,975. $27,975. Bada bing. There you go. Now here's the not really a trick question. It just could happen. You could get a problem that says non-detachable, and you just circle it compulsively because that's what I told you to do. Now it's a piece of cake. You issue your face value is 300. You issue 307. We don't care about warrants, so you have a $7,000 premium. So see how different these two cases are? When we had to allocate an amount to the warrant, we had a discount of 27,975. When we didn't care about the warrant, it was non-detachable. US GAAP doesn't require a separate valuation for the warrant. Then we end up with a premium of 7,000. Okay. Let's do number 7. And this is not a calculation. This is just a thought one for A. So they issue a 1 million 5-year 6% convertible bond for 105. Each $1,000 bonds convertible into 4 shares of common. What amount should be recorded in the paid-in capital conversion feature? Okay, under US GAAP, it's none. Why? Here's your answer. Because that's US GAAP. And that's our first responsibility as accountants is to follow GAAP. On January 1, half of the issuance is converted into common stock. On that date, the unamortized premium is $4,300. What is the book value of the common stock issued on that conversion date? So this 4,300 is a little ambiguous, but it sounds like it's the total issuance. I'm going to see if it matches this number. Let's see. So half of the issuance is converted. That is 500,000. Okay. So we're going to write off our bond payable. Write off the face value, 500,000. It was issued at a premium. So to remove the premium, we're going to have to debit that. We're going to have common stock, and we don't have a par value. So we're going to assume it's a no par state. Okay, so then it all comes down to what's the amount of premium. And this is for the full amount. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense because it's a 5,000. Let's see, 5% was 50,000. Either 1% is 10%. The original premium. Actually, that doesn't even make sense. This probably should be 43,000. I'm going to make it more. It's a 5-year, and you're in the 2nd year. That's probably a typo. I'm going to call it 43,000. So if it's 43,000, so it's 5% of a million is 50,000. So 43,000 really makes sense after 1 year. Okay, we divide it by 2. It's 21,500. So 521, 500. And this would be correct with the information given. Okay. All right, that's a good spot to kind of break. We don't want to make this too long, and we'll finish it off probably in the next video.